I want to take you through how you can use AI to remove yourself from your fulfillment process. I've used this exact same technique to deliver done for you services for my clients without any delays, without burning out, and most importantly, without upsetting any of my clients as I started taking on more and more clients. I'll be taking you through how to actually set this up, how to figure out the best places to actually use this, and as a bonus, I'll also show you how you can actually integrate this within your agency as seamlessly as possible. Now, in all honesty, unless your service delivery is insanely stupid, then this won't completely remove you from the fulfillment process. But what it's going to do instead is give you a head start. And let me actually explain what I mean by that. At the moment, every single time you bring on a new client and you start a new task within your fulfillment process, you're starting from scratch, which sucks. What I'm basically suggesting that you use this method and the application of AI to start around 70% just to give you a head start in that fulfillment process. So for example, if you had a marketing agency and part of what you did was, create this creative strategy, at the moment you're starting from blank every single time, which can be a lot of work. However, if you were to use the practices I'm going to show you in this video, this creative strategy could be about 70% complete. So all you have to do is come in, add the finishing touches, and everyone's happy. You have a lot less work and you can actually produce more high quality stuff. Exact same thing if you have a lead gen agency. Let's say every single time you're writing there's email copy for your clients, you're starting from scratch, which is a lot of work. If you were to use the practice I'm going to show you in this video, rather than starting your copywriting from scratch every single time, you can start with something that's about 70% complete, add those finishing touches, and then everyone's happy. This is the exact same concept as having an assistant who prepares everything for you before you actually get started with your work. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but it's a lot better than starting from nothing. Now, the easiest way to do this, and the way I'm actually going to show you how to do this in this video, is just creating your own assistant. And I'm not talking about doing any sort of Frankenstein stuff. I'm talking about creating your own AI assistant based on the different parts of your fulfillment process. Now, the reason we actually do this, rather than just using general AI, is because general AI is getting information from about a billion different places, all the different web articles in the link. There's so much information that is using it to actually answer your answer. However, if you were to set up your own custom AI assistants, it's selecting from a much finer kind of selection, such as your SOPs, different documentation you uploaded, right? So it allows you to get much more accurate answers rather than just random AI fluff that anyone can get access to. I'll give you an example to kind of drive this in. Let's say you were to go on holiday in a random country and you will go to speak to a random doctor, just a general doctor in that country about your back pain. It might be helpful, however, it won't be the exact solution to what you need. However, if you were to go to speak to your doctor, who you've known for about 20 years, he knows everything about your medical history and knows exactly about your past pains, you're much more likely to get your back pain solved because they're more specialized to your specific needs rather than a general doctor. This is the exact same concept we're applying when we're actually creating these different AI agents. And after I actually show you how to set one of these up, I'm going to take you through a process that you can use to actually identify specifically what areas you can actually apply this within your fulfillment process to find the most leveraged places. But for now, let's go over to OpenAI and talk about how you can actually set something like this up. So the first thing you want to do is go to openai.com. For those of you who don't know, OpenAI is basically just the back end of ChatGPT. When you're on this nice beautiful website, all you want to do is go to products, and I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see a bit clearer. And once you're in products, you're going to see API. You want to scroll down to API login and press that. This is actually where you can either log in or create your own account. Now, this is separate to ChatGPT, so if you don't already have one, you're going to have to create a new one, but it's very, very simple. All you have to do is can log in through Google. Now, for most people that log in, if you already have an account, you might have to add some credits. So all you want to do is go over to the settings, go over to billing, and all you have to do is press this button right here to add some credit balance. Once again, you don't need much. You don't have to upload more than $5. If you're just testing this out and it's your first time creating an OpenAI account, I think they'll probably give you some credits to start off with. This is necessary because if you want to test out different things, then you will need to actually use that. But for now, if you already have that sorted, all you want to do now is actually go ahead and create your assistant. So to do that, we're going to go over to Playground, and then in this left column all the way here, you're going to go over and select Assistants, which is the kind of robot looking guy. Now here, you already have some preloaded assistants. All you have to do is press this toggle and go over to create an assistant. And this is where everything is going to start. Now, once again, after I actually show you how to do this, I'm going to take you through the process you can actually go through to figure out which specific parts of your fulfillment process you should be automating using AI assistants. But for now, I just want to take you through the process. So for the name, you can name it whatever you want. So in this example, it's going to be copywriting email assistant. For the model, you can just use the most updated model. The different models vary slightly. Some of them are faster, some of them are more expensive, some of them are cheaper. In my opinion, just go for the newest one. That's usually the cheaper one, and it's usually the one that performs the best. So in this example, I'll be going for ChatGPT 4o Mini. Now, there's two parts of this whole process which are very, very important. The first part is the system instructions, which is basically the prompt. Now, this is not a prompting masterclass, right? There's so many different videos you can watch on that. I'm just going to show you the easiest way you can do this as a complete beginner who doesn't have a clue how to actually set up these different prompts. In this example, I'm writing a copywriting email assistant. And to actually aid this assistant, I'm going to be using this SOP that I had ChatGPT create for me a second ago. First thing I want to do is go over to files, and I have this SOP. I'm going to go over to download, and I'm going to download it as a PDF. Once it's actually done, I'm going to go over to ChatGPT, and within ChatGPT, I'm going to ask a very, very simple question. I'm going to say, based on this SOP, create a prompt for my copywriting assistant, which can take a few details about a client and create 5 example cold email copies that I can share. And then I'm going to go over to this attach file, upload from your computer, and obviously choose that relevant file, which is just the SOP. Here's actually going to go ahead and actually create a prompt for me so I don't have to do any work. Once again, this isn't a prompt in masterclass. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, and I have used better ways in the past. However, I don't want to kind of overcomplicate on the details. And for now, this will work just fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this kind of nice little prompt is actually created for me. Go back to assistants, and for the system instruction, I'm going to paste it in. Now, the important thing about this is in this example, I'm using a random prompt. I'm not even looking after it because I'm not a copywriter. I don't know anything about this, what this random AI just said. But obviously, this is where you kind of upload some of your specific knowledge that you already know. So once again, rather than it generating random information from the internet, it use some of your specific practices, some of the specific way that you talk, different things like that to generate copy that's actually based around your agency's way of working. Once you've gone ahead and actually added your personalization to the prompt, all you want to do is turn on file search, and then where it gives you the option to add files, you're going to press this plus button and just drag in that file that you recently got it, just like that. You're going to go press attach, and that's literally it. Now you've actually gone ahead and created your system. You can change different things such as the temperature, which is basically just how much it varies or how much creativity the AI is. I think that's the best way to put it. But honestly, I wouldn't touch any of this. I'll just leave it as that. So once you've actually gone ahead and actually created your assistant, you can quickly test it out. And for this example, if I were to just enter some random information, you can see here, I'm basically just answering some of the questions I was kind of asked for here, and I press run. Let's see if it actually gives us a response that we can actually work with, which as you can see, it does. It gives us version 1, version 2, and now it's going to go ahead and create the 5 versions. Now, obviously, guys, you do have to refine this with AI. It is a game of just kind of playing around with it and figuring out what works best for you. And like I said, this is a random prompt I got from ChatGPT. There's obviously different ways to improve this. And if I was a copywriting expert, I would come through and edit this versions, give it feedback based on how it's kind of performing, and update the system instructions. However, for now, I'm happy with this. So I'm just going to leave it as this. I've now created a copyright email system. And what I'm basically suggesting is you just duplicate this process for the rest of your fulfillment process, which now we're going to go over how you can actually do this. But now that you've actually gone ahead and actually created our AI assistants, it's time to discover those high leverage tasks that can actually remove yourself from the fulfillment process. Now, in a lot of my videos, I always talk about these $10 hour automations, and these are great. They're basically tasks that can be overtaken or delegated to a $10 hour VA. However, when it comes to $100 an hour plus tasks, that's tasks which will provide you a lot more leverage. And in most cases, you will need to have some aspects of these AI assistants to actually figure out how you actually do this. In order to know specifically what you're actually supposed to automate, you need to firstly break down your fulfillment process. Now, your fulfillment process is just basically a series of steps you take to deliver a promised service to a client. Breaking down your fulfillment process is one of the most incredibly useful things you can do because you can really get a good understanding of what happens, when it happens, and where it happens. So then once you know that, you can actually go ahead and create these different assistants, just like I showed you a second ago, for different aspects of your fulfillment process to remove you from them. Now, the easiest way to do this is by breaking down a much larger tasks into smaller stages and then into individual subsections. So for example, I have my fulfillment process, which is the big thing. I can break it down in 4 individual stages, and then each of the stages I can break down into 4 individual tasks. It's the exact same way if you're working towards a goal. The easiest way to actually achieve that is to break it down to measurable steps. Let's say you wanted to increase your sales. You can increase your close rate, you can increase your show up rate, and then let's say you can increase your conversion rate on your website. You then break those 3 things into small individual sections. So for example, to increase your close rate, you can improve the background of your actual calls. You can improve your microphone. You can improve your script. To increase the show up rate, you can send more follow-up emails. You can change the copy on a landing page. You can send more nurture videos. You get the idea. You're basically breaking down a much bigger goal into individual sections and then breaking down those individual sections into even smaller places to create actual steps to actually achieving that goal. And it's the exact same thing we're doing for fulfillment process. Now, I will say, if you have some sort of program, which just basically means a desired situation with a set period of time. So for example, we have set up scale-proof systems in 6 months. This is a lot easier because a program follows a very kind of religious set of steps. However, if you have recurring services, it's still possible to do this. So for example, let's say you run a lead gen agency where every single month you're promising your clients 15 qualified leads. Or you run a creative agency where every single month you're producing, I don't know, 20 TikToks for your clients. These are recurring services. And the easiest way to actually make this work for recurring services is break them down into individual programs, and eventually these programs are going to loop. So for example, if I want to run a short form content agency, I'd basically break down my recurring program into 3 different programs based on the months. So the first month will be the onboarding, which we're just doing a creative strategy and we're just testing different things for the client. The second month, that's when we actually start content creation and gather feedback. And the third month is where we actually begin taking on more content creation. And this is where we kind of keep looping back between creating content, collecting feedback, creating content, collecting feedback. But as you can see, I broke down a recurring service into programs which are just recurring. So for example, in a creative start and testing program, this can include different things such as creating a creative strategy, onboarding, finding my client's ideal target, different things like that. The second program could be broken on different stages such as creating the scripts, creating the content, uploading the content, collecting feedback, and same on for the different things. Once again, we're just taking a much larger goal and breaking it down to smaller stages and then breaking it down to smaller stages into individual tasks. Now, you don't have to copy the exact same method I showed you in this videos because there's a lot of right ways to actually do this. The key is you get understanding of what happens when and where it actually happens, because that's when you actually be able to integrate the AI systems you created in the previous step within different parts of your film process to actually remove yourself. Once you know what happens, where it happens, and when it happens, then you can actually choose those high leverage tasks. And the easiest way I like to do this is I like to choose tasks that I actually don't enjoy doing and tasks that actually make money. I want to say make money, I mean tasks that are kind of relevant to the client. So for example, let's say I run a copywriting agency or a content agency, and one thing I really hated was the script writing. So the copywriting process of actually creating the content. That is still very important to the actual end result. So that's a task that I hate and makes money relative to the actual client's goals. So I can create an AI system, I can do about 70% of the work in creating these scripts, and obviously I can come in and add my additional touches. Once I have an understanding of how I can actually choose these high leverage tasks, I just need to follow the steps that I showed you in the previous section in creating these AI assistants to actually remove yourself from your fulfillment process. And by the way, guys, feel free to replicate this process for any task that you have in your fulfillment process. I like to start with a high leverage task because I kind of see that as a low hanging fruit, especially for things that you don't enjoy doing or your team members don't actually enjoy doing. The way you can kind of apply this is either to remove different aspects of your daily job, but you can also apply this exact same process to remove tasks from your employees' plate, which they don't enjoy doing, to actually improve their productivity and produce the output of the different things that they're actually producing. So for example, if you know your editor hates cutting out that first part of the process, or let's say your editor hates writing the transcript for your videos, right? You create an AI assistant that can just generate that transcript and summarize it based on the key points. Just an example, but you get the idea. Now that you know how to actually create these AI assistants to remove yourself from your fulfillment, and you know what specific tasks you need to use to actually get those high leverage tasks out of the way so you can deliver better results to your client, I want to talk about a bonus, which is actually integrating these AI assistants in a day-to-day life. In my opinion, this is the most important part of this video, because if you make something that no one will use, no one will actually use it, and it's just going to be left to dust. And obviously you don't want that. So there's 2 different ways you can actually integrate these AI systems within your automation, and most importantly within your fulfillment process, to make it as seamless as possible for your team and your clients to kind of go through the process and get the desired outcome. In reality, you're going to be using a combination of both automation and chatbots to actually do it. It really depends on who's doing the work, how they're actually doing the work, and when they're actually doing the work. The first way you can actually do this is automation. Now, this is very simple. You're just setting up simple automations and including the AI agent within your automations. If you've watched a channel for a longer period of time, then you know this is something I always talk about. When you're creating these AI agents, or when you're just generally using AI within your automations, always use assistants, because you get so much better responses than just general AI off the shelf. Once again, if I go back to the doctor example, then that general doctor won't be able to help me nearly as much as the same doctor who's a specialist in back pain and has known me for a very long time. So apply the exact same principle to the different automations you're actually building out. And automation looks very simple. You have the trigger, which is basically what triggers the automation, what causes it to actually happen. The second step is passing over that information and asking the AI agent whatever piece you may need from. So for example, the copywriting example, I could ask it to generate different copies for a creative agency. I could also to generate different content ideas. I mean, there's so many different things you can actually do. And then you basically want to get those responses from the AI agents and actually store it somewhere. I'll give you two examples of this. The first example could be with as part of your onboarding process. As soon as they complete the form, you can send all that information over to the AI agent and ask it to basically summarize this form and give me 50 creative ideas and a full client assessment profile. Then you just pass those answers from the AI assistants into Google Document and then send a message to Slack to the relevant closer or the customer success manager so they can actually get a head start in the actual work in creating those creative ideas and that customer ideal profile. Another example could be within your CRM, you could press a button which scrapes the data based on the client and ask the agent to actually look at the data and create an action plan on how we can actually help this client achieve X. Then you go ahead and send an email to the client to let you know they're actually working on something behind the scenes, and obviously send a message to your customer success manager or your delivery team or even yourself to let them know, okay, this is the action plan we need to follow. There's so many different applications of these AI assistants, guys. It just depends on your fulfillment process. And once again, you don't need to automate anything apart from the different things you identified in a previous stage when you chose those high leverage tasks which you went through. I'll give you a quick, very, very live example on how to actually do this. In this example, I'm using mate.com, which is just a no-code automation platform, very, very similar to Zapier. You can copy the exact same process into something like Zapier as well. I've gone ahead and actually opened up my mate.com account. I'm just showing you a very, very simple example of automation. The first step of any automation, which is probably the most important part, is a trigger. So for this, I'm just going to be using a random trigger within mate.com, but you can obviously change this depending on what you're doing. So for example, if it's a form completion, you just choose Google Forms and go from there. If it's a button in your CRM, if it's an update in your CRM, then you actually choose that. You can even trigger this from a Slack message if you want. So in this example, let's say I wanted to trigger put the name here, and this can be McDonald's, and then I can put ICP, and this can be just a bunch of rubbish. I'm not actually going to run this automation, right? If you go press and add another module, this is when I'm actually going to be interacting with ChatGPT. So I'm going to choose OpenAI. I'm going to scroll down to message and assistant. And obviously here, this is where you actually go ahead and add your OpenAI connection. If you don't know how to actually do that, I can take you through that quickly. All you have to do is press add. And here you want to get your OpenAI key. So if you go back to your OpenAI account and you go over to settings and you go with API keys, you won't be able to see any of this because it's obviously blurred. What you want to do is go ahead and create a new secret key. Give it a name, select a project if you like, and just go ahead and create a secret key. You're just going to want to go ahead and copy this, and don't bother kind of copying this. I'm already going to delete it by the time you're watching this. Go ahead and press paste, press save, and that's going to go ahead and automatically connect you. Now, if you go over to assistants now, you'll be able to see the assistants you created in the previous step, which in this example is the copywriting email assistant. Everything else will be automatically filled out. You can leave it as an assistant. And for the message, you can just send the exact same message you send in the example. So if I go over here, I can enter the message from a previous step, which can be the trigger, and that's literally it. That's all you have to do. So I'm going to go press OK. And the next step could be, I don't know, if you want to send the output in Slack. So for example, if I actually change this here, and for the actual value, I'm going to change this to the thing you saw earlier, where I just broke down the client profile, and then I actually just run this, right? You're going to see it's going to get that information and it's going to output a response. It might take a second to actually load. If I go over to results, you can see that's going to go ahead and generate those 5 more copies. Maybe the last thing I can do is create a document. For this example, I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to send a message in Slack. I'll just scroll down to create a message. And here for the text, I can just enter that result. And that's it. Now it's going to go ahead and actually automatically send it within Slack. Obviously, a very, very simple example. And this isn't an automation masterclass. I've got so many videos going over how you can actually use these assistants, such as this video right here, where I can go over how you can actually create a lead magnet. However, I hope that gives you an idea of how you can actually integrate these AI within your automations, which is the most important part, because I think, at least from my experience, is the most leveraged side of things. The second way you can actually integrate these AI assistants within your fulfillment process is using chatbots. Now, this is very, very similar to ChatGPT, in the sense that it's a bit more conversational. However, once again, if you go back to the example of the random doctor versus the specialist doctor who knows you, then the specialist doctor will usually be able to provide you better examples. There's so many different ways you can integrate it as a GPT within ChatGPT, within Slack, or even as a chatbot within your internal platform. In all honesty, I haven't made any videos going over chatbots because I think they're very, very overhyped. I think that's the best way to put them. There are definitely some useful use cases, which I'm more than happy to explore if there's a request on the channel. However, for now, I'm trying to stay away from that side of the internet, because I know it's just a whole kind of cycle where people really hope I hype them trying to sell chatbots, which in all fairness are not that useful. But chatbots are a very, very useful way you can actually integrate these assistants. We use these AI chatbots within our Slack channels. That's how we set them up. So let's say a team member needed help with anything, or within a specific part of the onboarding process, or they just want to have a conversation with the AI assistant to get some help or a head start on the work. They can just add that specific chatbot within the channel and then get an AI generated response. And guys, that's pretty much it. All you have to do now is rinse, repeat everything I talked about in this video for the different steps of your fulfillment process. And like I said, this isn't not going to replace you completely unless your fulfillment process is very, very stupid. In most cases, it will do about 70%, 60%, maybe even 80% of the work. And all you have to do is come in, add those finishing touches, refine the script, and you'll have a lot less work on your plate, which will allow you to actually deliver better results to your clients. Because it's a lot better than starting from scratch every single time. Think about this like an SOP on steroids. The last thing I'll say is when it comes to AI prompting, it does take some time and you will get frustrated because the prompt won't be perfect on the first time. You need to, over time, adapt it to your specific needs. You need to play around with it, ask it different questions, and over time, you'll be able to refine that prompt very, very well. It's the same thing when it comes to prompt engineering in general. You're not going to get it perfect the first time round, but talking to the AI, you can help refine it. If you have a pro account within ChatGPT, you can use the GPT builder and just copy the prompt that they actually generate. You still will have to refine that, but it'll be a lot easier than starting from scratch. But guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope this video has been valuable. If this content helped you out in any way, make sure to like, subscribe to see more videos like this on your feed, and also support the channel. It's a win-win for everyone. If you like what you saw today and you want to learn different ways you can actually include AI, automation, or just then general operation information within your agency to help you provide better results for your clients as you start taking more of them on, then you can check out the first link in the description to join our Scale Proof Community Hub. This is a community 100% free where we have a ton of established agency owners all looking to set up scale proof systems. Within there, you can access every single one of the resource automation templates that we've actually released from the YouTube and a step-by-step guide on how we actually help our clients set up scale proof systems in our scale proof roadmap. All of that is 100% free, and you also get direct access to me and my team. So if you have any questions about anything I talked about today in this video or just operations in general, feel free to come in, ask the questions, and you'll get a reply within 24 hours of how you can actually help your agency. The last thing I'll say is, guys, don't finish the learning here. I recommend watching this video going over how you can actually automate daily tasks that actually happen in your agency. You know, you creating these AI agents is only half of the story because it's very important that you actually go through the process of actually applying it within your fulfillment process. Because once again, if you create these amazing AI assistants and then it's impossible for people to actually use them, then there's no point. You just waste your time. So I recommend going over this video, going over how you can actually automate daily tasks, and you can apply this to your fulfillment process to find those specific high leverage tasks that you can actually replace using these AI agents. Apart from that, guys, that's it from me today. Hope this video has been valuable. If you have any questions about anything, leave a comment below. We are a very, very small channel. So if you do leave a comment, we're 100% going to see it and give you an in-depth response. But guys, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.